Exclusive contract with Feilu Novel Network Novel. Hogwarts. The strongest Animagus in history. Charlotte traveled to the wizarding world, but became a test subject for black wizards and was forcibly injected into the bloodline of Thunderbird. Just as he was about to die, the divine-level transformation wizard system awakened. In the next moment, Charlotte transformed into a Thunderbird, becoming the master of storms and thunder, and in an instant, destroyed the Black Wizard Laboratory. From then on, Charlotte embarked on the path of a legendary **G, transforming into a blazing demon. The demonic fire that destroyed the heavens and earth caused the Red Dragon to retreat. Transforming into a nightmare can easily invade the dreams of others and fabricate dreams to make people fall asleep. Transform into an undead phoenix, obtain an undead body, and no longer fear the Avada's curse. Years later, Voldemort's water spirit Death Eaters attacked Hogwarts, and Charlotte transformed into a Titan giant with a single punch, destroying the heavens and earth. Dumbledore. Charlotte is the most outstanding student in the history of Hogwarts. He has surpassed the god Merlin, and the Dark Lord is not his nemesis. Voldemort. Charlotte is the true great demon king. I am just a reptile in front of him. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Seeking fresh flowers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kneeling down for some flower data. What Charlotte is holding in her hand is the true Eye of Cyclops. Now he is preparing to destroy it directly according to the previous agreement. In order to ensure that it can be completely destroyed, he also took out his own sword of response. This long sword is not only able to make people speak the truth, but also a divine weapon that sharpens iron like mud. After all, the Eye of Cyclops is a divine artifact, and the Horcruxes made by Voldemort are very difficult to destroy, let alone the legend that this is a crystal ball polished from the eyes of a Cyclops. Why did Antonio give the crystal ball to himself to destroy before, instead of the more powerful Dumbledore? Probably because he knew he had such a divine weapon on his body. With this thought, Charlotte understood everything. Just as he was about to gently throw up the Eye of Cyclops in his hand and then cut it off with one sword. Everyone present's eyes froze for a moment, and a crazy voice kept ringing in everyone's hearts. Stop him. He is a demon from the abyss. Save me, I will make you a prophet, I can give you the power of gods. Charlotte also heard these sounds, and a hint of surprise flashed on his face. This thing is too cult, and it can actually bewitch others. No wonder Antonio said that anyone who has used the Eye of Cyclops cannot take action against it. This thing must not be left behind. Thinking of walking here, he gritted his teeth and threw the crystal ball up. Grindelwald, standing outside the magic barrier, roared angrily upon seeing this. Stop him quickly. As the words fell, Rogrid and a few Aurors raised their wands and aimed them at Charlotte. Get rid of your weapons. All petrified. Fast imprisonment. 7 or 8 spells of different colors all fell on Charlotte's back. At this moment, Dumbledore's figure blocked Charlotte's body. He raised his wand and lightly tapped it, reciting, Armor protection. In the next moment, his entire body was enveloped by an illusory armor. The spells released by Groglides and his subordinates were all blocked by this armor, either bounced off or directly reflected back, causing Groglides and his group to immediately panic. All of this happened between pyroelectric stones. Only when Dumbledore blocked the spells of Rogers and others did Mad-Eye Moody and others awaken from that state of being bewitched. At this moment, Charlotte's long sword landed with unparalleled precision in the eyes of Cyclops. Ah! A deep and hoarse roar emanated from the shattered eyes of Cyclops. Immediately after, a thick black smoke emerged from the shattered crystal ball, quickly forming a towering one-eyed giant. After roaring at Charlotte, it quickly disappeared into the air. Ding! The host destroys the artifact, Cyclops' Eye, rewards skill points by 50, and rewards Frost Giant's bloodline. Upon hearing the system prompt sound in her mind, Charlotte's heart was filled with joy. These 50 skill points are really timely, and there is also a bloodline of Frost Giant, which is definitely 100 times more precious than skill points. Although he didn't know why destroying the eye beads of the Cyclops would reward the Frost Giant's bloodline, Charlotte didn't care anymore. In the moment when he was stunned, Dumbledore and Mad-Eye Moody, together with a group of vampires, had already subdued Rogers and others, even though they were the elite Aurora of the Ministry of Magic. But it's not enough to look at big shots like Dumbledore and Crazy Moody. Not to mention a dozen or so vampires who are eyeing each other, they are all warriors of both martial arts and law. Even without magic, they can fight against ordinary elite wizards. At this moment, Hogwarts' trembling team said to Dumbledore. "Professor Dumbledore, I am innocent. I was just bewitched by the eye of Cyclops, not really trying to kill Charlotte. You must believe me, everyone has been bewitched." Dumbledore said expressionlessly. "Tell the people from the Magical Law Enforcement Department what you said, I think they will believe what you said." Charlotte ignored Grindelwald, whose eyes seemed to be about to kill. He recalled the scene just now with lingering fear. If Rogelwald had been bewitched, it would have been fine. If they were all Grindelwald's people, that would have been truly terrifying. However, Dumbledore seems to have been on guard against them for a long time, and can only be said to be worthy of being the old Deng leader. He walked up with the sword of reply, pointing the tip of his sword at the trembling Rogers and asking. "Who do you obey?" "Lord Gettler Grindelwald." After saying these words, Hogwarts' eyes widened and he looked at Charlotte with an extremely frightened look. He had no idea how he could say such words. After hearing these words, the people around looked at Charlotte in surprise, not knowing what he had done to Rogers. Charlotte said. "This sword has a very magical effect, which is that when pointed at by its sword tip, one cannot tell lies. Its effect is similar to spitting out the true potion, so what Hogwarts said earlier is true." Upon hearing this, Grindelwald's eyes showed a strong murderous intent. And Rogers, on the other hand, shouted loudly in terror at Grindelwald. "Help me! Lord Grindelwald! I don't want to enter Azkaban, Lord Grindelwald. For all the things I've done for you, please help me." Grindelwald looked at Rogers with a gloomy expression. He was just a big fool. You knew this sword had the ability to make people speak the truth. Shouldn't you shout it out like this, rushing to be asked? And Charlotte's eyebrows lightly raised upon hearing these words, indicating that he was still an important figure. He continued to ask. "What exactly does Grindelwald want to do?" Rogers said with a look of despair. He wanted to tame the vampires for his use, but all his previous lobbying efforts failed, so he had to resort to using the Stuttgart family as a weapon, capable of capturing the eye of Cyclops while also setting a warning to others and establishing authority. We all obeyed him, preparing to match up with qualified Lindivo in Stuttgart's castle to take the eye of Cyclops. At this point, Grindelwald no longer had the feeling of holding the wisdom pearl he had before. He stared fixedly at Charlotte, his voice becoming incredibly cold. "Break through the barrier and kill them all." Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 1. The Experiment of Becoming a Black Wizard at the Beginning. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A severe pain made Charlotte open her eyes. He wanted to look up and look around, but this small gesture made him feel a bone-piercing pain. This feeling is like the bones all over my body have been crushed. Even the air he breathed in was like sharp knives, cutting through his own organs, causing him to curl up in pain. What is the situation? Aren't you working overtime? Where is this? After a few quick thoughts flashed through her mind, Charlotte fainted again. Not knowing how long had passed, in a daze, Charlotte heard the conversation between the two. He struggled to open his eyes and saw two men wearing strange robes standing not far from him. "Maggie, we must leave here as soon as possible, those Aurora have already begun to notice us. These damn crazy dogs, our experiment is about to be completed." Alright, this is the last one. After it's done, we'll leave immediately. Is your idea really okay? We have already wasted too much time. White, how could you have such an idea? You have seen it yourself. We are only one last step away from success. At that time, we will become an existence comparable to the Dharma god Merlin. No, we will surpass the Dharma god Merlin. I hope so. At this moment, the black-robed man also noticed Charlotte, who had already awakened. The two of them turned their heads and glanced at him before turning and leaving the room. With the help of dim yellow light, Charlotte saw the appearance of the two people. One was tall, with long linen hair and dark green eyes. Her skin was pale, like a patient who had not seen sunlight for a long time. The other person is a skinny old man with a pointed hat on his head and a hint of madness in his triangular eyes. His beard is long and has grown to the chest. The strange attire of the two reminded Charlotte of medieval wizards. He looked around again and found that it was a completely enclosed room with no windows, only a wooden door leading to the outside world. There were glass-covered oil lamps hanging around the walls, and through the light emitted by the lamps, Charlotte saw mysterious and complex patterns outlined with unknown pigments on the floor of the room. And Charlotte himself was casually thrown into the corner like a piece of garbage. He moved his leg, only to find a pitch-black iron chain tied to his foot. After a long time, Charlotte's confused mind slowly became clear. He lifted his pale hands and murmured. I actually traveled through it. Through the remaining memories in her mind, Charlotte knew that this was the world of Harry Potter, and he was a wizard from a Muggle family. His parents died early and he grew up in an orphanage. A week ago, Charlotte was caught here by two black wizards while she was out. Before him, there were two little wizards here. Charlotte saw the black wizard inject unknown potions into the bodies of those two little wizards. They first turned into some kind of half-human, half-beast monster, and then exploded with a bang. Charlotte, who was trying to resist, was tortured to death by the black wizard with the diamond heart curse, which gave her her own journey. Thinking of this, Charlotte let out a long sigh. I died in the blessings of the past life, and finally regained my life. Unexpectedly, at the beginning, I became a test subject for the black wizard. This Nima is still playing tricks. Bada. At that moment, the wooden door of the room opened and two black wizards walked in again. Seeing the two of them, Charlotte's heart immediately thumped. From their conversation just now, he had already guessed that these two were going to conduct an experiment on themselves. He instinctively shrank back, but unexpectedly collided with the hard wall. Upon seeing this, a hint of grimace appeared at the corner of the skinny old wizard's mouth. He took out a wand from his arms and shouted at the iron chain on Charlotte's foot. Araho cave opens. With a soft click, the chain that imprisoned Charlotte automatically opened. Without the shackles of the chains, Charlotte instinctively stood up and rushed towards the wooden door with all his strength. He didn't want to die so miserably. Soul out of the body. But as soon as his feet took a step, a faint blue glow fell on Charlotte's body. The next second, Charlotte felt like he had lost control of his body. Although he wanted to escape from this place, his feet gradually walked towards the two black wizards. Soul-snatching curse. Charlotte knows this curse, and those who fall under it will completely obey the caster's commands, making it one of the 3 unforgivable curses. You're lucky. The old wizard's hoarse voice sounded, if it weren't for those damn Aurora, if you weren't my last test subject, I would definitely try all the black magic curses on you again. After speaking, the old wizard took out a crystal bottle the size of an egg from his arms. His cold triangular eyes stared at the gray-blue magic potion in the crystal bottle and said. Lying in the middle of the room, drink this bottle of potion. Charlotte tried hard to resist the instructions from the old wizard in his brain, but his body didn't listen to him at all. He just lay in the middle of the mysterious rune and drank the magic drug from the crystal bottle. It's over. The magic potion enters the throat. Charlotte's first feeling was bitter and smelly, and that indescribable feeling even made him forget the fear of death. Immediately after, the miserable situation of the first two little wizards involuntarily appeared in his mind, and a feeling of fear and despair surged in his heart. Is this about to die? Just as Charlotte was about to close her eyes and wait for death, a sudden voice rang out in his mind. Ding! Thunderbird bloodline detected, divine level transformation wizard system activated. Is bloodline fused? The sudden change stunned Charlotte in an instant. System. Is this your own golden finger? Without any hesitation, Charlotte said in her mind, fusion immediately. Although he is not yet clear about the function of this golden finger, it is definitely his only chance to save his life. Even after merging with the bloodline of Thunderbird, becoming a bird is 100 times stronger than dying in the hands of these two black wizards. At the moment the command was given, a shocking change began to occur in Charlotte's body. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 2. Fusion of blood and transformation into Thunderbird. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A sudden whirlwind gathered around Charlotte's body, causing dust to fly in the enclosed room. At the center of the whirlwind, even fine lightning appeared. Not only that, Charlotte's appearance also underwent a great change, his eyes changed from black to golden brown, and his face also grew light golden fur. Tear it apart. A sound of clothes cracking sounded, and a pair of small wings grew on Charlotte's back. Success. I finally succeeded. Watching the changes on Charlotte's body, the old wizard Margus exclaimed excitedly, with a crazy expression on her face. Did you see White? He is the only Animagus in the entire wizarding world who can transform into a magical creature. This is a great research, and I, Maggie Armstrong, will become a myth in the wizarding world. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Maggie looked at Charlotte, who had completely transformed into a Thunderbird form, with a look of madness on her face. Merlin is on top, a real Thunderbird. Look at how beautiful its feathers are, look at its claws, sharp enough to pierce through steel plates, perfect. Perfect without even a single flaw. White's face also showed a very excited expression. He had already felt the power of Thunderbird, who was just an 11-year-old wizard. If he could successfully integrate Thunderbird's bloodline, he would definitely become even stronger. Even if facing the Black Demon King directly, I will not be afraid at all. And you don't have to choose the Thunderbird bloodline yourself. There are more powerful magical creatures to choose from, such as dragons and phoenixes. Thinking of this, White couldn't help but smile at the corner of his mouth. At this moment, Charlotte's mind rang with a system prompt sound. Ding! Successfully fused the bloodline of Thunderbird. Name: Charlotte Elvis. Age: 11. Race: Human, Thunderbird form. Occupation: Wizard, Animagus. Talent: Thunderstorm power. 12. Intelligence. 9. Magic. 15. Curse. None skill point. 0. After seeing her attributes, Charlotte was immediately stunned. She turned out to be an Animagus that could transform into a magical creature. Those who had watched the movie knew that the transformation spells that could transform into ordinary animals were already very advanced magic. Otherwise, the entire wizarding world cannot be controlled by just a dozen or so people. And transforming into magical creatures is something that no one can achieve. Even Merlin, known as the Dharma god, can only transform into various ferocious beasts and viruses to attack enemies. And Charlotte not only successfully transformed into a Thunderbird, but also possessed the talent of Thunderbird Thunderstorm. At this moment, he had already felt the powerful power in his body, as if as long as he waved his wings, he could cause hurricanes and thunderstorms. Looking at the excited two, a wave of anger rushed straight to the forehead. Yeah. A loud and clear bird song sounded in the room, and Charlotte vigorously waved 3 pairs of wings. Suddenly, a strong wind blew everywhere. A huge wind pressure surged in the narrow room in an instant. Before Margus and White could react, they were blown away by the oncoming strong wind and hit the hard wall with a bang. White is fine, he just suffered some minor injuries. But the elderly Margus directly smashed the wooden door, and the broken wood stubble pierced his chest, making it impossible for him to survive. White, lying on the ground, hurriedly took out his wand and shouted loudly at Charlotte, who had transformed into a Thunderbird. Avada. Sting. As White recited the spell, a piercing lightning bolt instantly hit his chest, and he was once again thrown out. This time, it was not that simple. White, who had been struck by lightning, was covered in white smoke from top to bottom, and Charlotte could smell a strong burnt smell. Then, another lightning strike was given to the old wizard Margus. Although this product already has more air output and less air intake, the Black Wizard's methods are already unpredictable. If this guy takes advantage of his lack of attention and attacks Avada to take his life, wouldn't it be cool? Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the Black Wizards White Claire and Maggie Brooke, obtaining 2 skill points, Brain Blocking, and the Black Magic Killing Curse. Charlotte was slightly taken aback. It turns out that killing a Black Wizard can earn skill points and reward spells. However, rewarding oneself with one of the 3 unforgivable curses, the Killing Curse, is the system preparing to cultivate oneself into a Black Wizard. However, this brain-sealing technique is quite good. After all, I am a traveler and have become an Animagus that can transform into a magical creature. If this news spreads, I will definitely be locked up by evil wizards and cut into pieces for research. Snape in the original work is a person who has reached the full level of brain-sealing techniques, and even Voldemort's telepathy cannot read his inner thoughts, making him extremely powerful. With this in mind, Charlotte directly assigned 2 skill points to the brain-sealing technique. Then the curse line in the attribute bar immediately changed. Curse. Brain Sealing, Level 2, Killing Curse, 0. The Level 2 brain sealing technique is already at a proficient level, making it easy to deal with ordinary wizards. It is estimated that no one would think that a wizard who has not yet enrolled has already mastered this spell proficiently. Suddenly, Charlotte felt a strong sense of weakness emanating from her body. The next moment, she noticed that her body was slowly shrinking, and in the blink of an eye, she transformed from a majestic Thunderbird into a human form. It seems that changing to Thunderbird form has a time limit and constantly consumes one's own magic and stamina. Push and push. At this moment, a rapid sound of footsteps came from outside. Charlotte's heart suddenly lifted. Now his magic is exhausted and he can't even move his fingers. If there were another Black Wizard, wouldn't it be like he just emerged from the wolf's mouth and then entered the tiger's den? Just as Charlotte's heart was about to jump to her throat, several men in black windbreakers walked in, led by a burly middle-aged man with a cold expression and a striking fake eye on his face. Mad-eyed Moody. At the moment of seeing this person's appearance, Charlotte's heart finally sank into her stomach. This may seem intimidating, but he is a very trustworthy white wizard, the elite Auror of the Ministry of Magic. In the original work, when transferring Harry Potter, the Death Eaters believed that the Ministry would send the best Auror to protect Curry Potter. In Voldemort's heart, this most outstanding Auror is not Weasley or Lupin, it is this strange-looking Mad-Eye Moody. Although Charlotte knows that Mad-Eye Moody is a white wizard, he cannot appear too calm. After all, in his current identity, he is a victim who has been tormented by the Black Wizard. So, in the first second Moody's crazy eye stepped into the room, Charlotte looked at him in horror and exclaimed. Don't kill me. Feilu's novel, Fei wants you to look good. Chapter 3. Mad-Eye Moody's, Admission Notice. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Mad-Eye Moody had already seen Charlotte through his magic eyes when he was outside. From the first second he stepped in here, his wand was always aimed at Charlotte. This was his experience in fighting the Black Wizard for decades, and he remained vigilant at all times. Even if he is just a child, he may still use the Avada curse in the next second. Mad-eyed Moody approached and whispered to soothe Charlotte. Relax, children. We're not bad people. I'm Auror from the Ministry of Magic, specifically here to rescue children abducted by black wizards. Charlotte remained vigilant, his eyes fixed on Mad-Eye Moody, and he instinctively retreated towards the back. At this moment, Mad-Eye Moody's wand lightly tapped, and a burst of blue light flashed through Charlotte's mind. Unconsciously, some memories began to emerge. Grasping the mind. Charlotte's heart was startled. This person was indeed known for being cautious and cautious. Fortunately, he had learned the art of brain sealing. He quickly recalled the memories of the original owner's childhood in his mind, as well as the scenes of him being tormented by the Black Wizard using the Diamond Heart Curse and controlled by the Soul-Taking Curse. After a moment, Mad-Eye Moody's face darkened to the extreme. Damn it, using the Diamond Heart Curse on children is simply unforgivable. At this moment, the three people who came in with him walked up and said, "Captain, the identities of the two have been confirmed. White Claire and Maggie Brooke are both wanted Death Eaters by the Ministry of Magic. Both have murder records, but they are already dead." Mad-Eye Moody raised his head and asked, "How did you die?" The two of them seem to have been struck by lightning, and some of their bodies have carbonized. The subordinate said, "There are no other traces of combat in the room, so it can be inferred that they were killed with one strike. The opponent is a quite powerful wizard." Upon hearing this, Mad-Eye Moody's brow furrowed tightly. The magic spell that can control lightning is very rare and extremely difficult. So far, he has only seen one person use it, and that person is Grindelwald, known as the Great Demon King. Perhaps Dumbledore and Voldemort did, but he had never seen them before. But Mad-Eye Moody can be certain that it was not the hands of these two people. Dumbledore didn't need to cast such a powerful spell to defeat them, and Voldemort had already died 11 years ago. The sudden emergence of such a skilled killer in the wizarding world is definitely not a good omen. Thinking of this, Mad-Eye Moody turned his gaze back to Charlotte and asked, "Child, what's your name? Do you remember where you live?" "Charlotte. Charlotte Elvis." Charlotte looked cautiously at Mad-Eye Moody. "I live in the St. Margaret's home." Mad-Eye Moody looked up at his subordinate, who nodded and said, "It's him, there's a photo of him in the file." Charlotte Elvis, from a Muggle family, passed away due to a car accident. 5 years ago, she was sent to the St. Margaret's welfare home and disappeared for no reason a week ago. Having watched Charlotte's memories using telepathy, and then being confronted with information about the missing person, Mad-Eye Moody finally let go of his guard and continued to ask, "Charlotte, did you see who attacked these two black wizards? This is very important." "No, I haven't seen anyone, I can't remember many things before," Charlotte said. "Has the forgotten curse been cast?" Mad-Eye Moody let out a soft sigh. As he had expected, a master like him would never leave a clue for him. The only good news was that this mysterious wizard seemed to only kill the Dark Wizard. However, this news still needs to be communicated to Dumbledore to prepare early. Subsequently, Mad-Eye Moody and his team did not ask any further questions, but only treated Charlotte briefly before taking him back to the St. Margaret's welfare home. With the help of magic, everyone was not surprised by Charlotte's return, they just thought he was simply lost. Just returned, Charlotte saw a special letter on her bed. The envelope is made of thick parchment paper with an ancient wax seal and a shield emblem. The capital letter H is surrounded by a lion, an eagle, a snake, and a badger. Seeing this coat of arms, Charlotte was instantly energized. Hogwarts admission letter. He quickly opened the envelope and saw that it read, "Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry Principal. Albus Dumbledore. President of the International Wizardry Federation, President of the Wizardry Association, and First-Class Magician of the Order of Merlin, dear Mr. Elvis, we are pleased to inform you that, you have been granted permission to study at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find attached a list of required books and equipment. The semester is scheduled to start on September 1st. We will be waiting for your owl to bring you a reply before July 31st. Dear Vice Principal, Female, Maleva McGonagall. After reading the content of the letter, Charlotte's face showed a slight smile. After learning that she had traveled to the wizarding world, Charlotte was looking forward to studying at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. I didn't expect that in just half a day, my wish had already been fulfilled. Glancing at the calendar hanging on the wall, Charlotte murmured. In June 1991, if I remember correctly, the protagonist Harry Potter also entered Hogwarts that year. So, there are only 3 years left until the Dark Lord recovers, but time is enough. I am a time traveler and have a system in place. 3 years is enough to make me strong enough to face Voldemort, the big boss. What I need to do now is to become stronger as soon as possible in a short period of time. Merlin, the god of magic, can transform into various animals. With his own divine-level transformation wizard system, he can definitely transform into various magical creatures. Thinking of this, Charlotte asked. System, besides the Thunderbird bloodline, can I also merge the bloodlines of other magical creatures? Yes, the host needs to obtain 100 milliliters of magical creature's blood, and also needs to pay an additional 100 skill points to merge the blood of a magical creature. How can I obtain skill points? After obtaining new achievements in magic, defeating/killing enemies, completing system-specified tasks, and so on, the host can obtain skill points. After inquiring about the system, Charlotte let out a soft sigh. That is to say, there is currently no way for oneself to obtain skill points, and one must wait until entering Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry to obtain skill points. However, it's not necessarily the case. If you can meet a black wizard, you can also become a Thunderbird, and there may be a chance to kill them unexpectedly, but it's too risky. If you don't pay attention, you will become the experimental material for other dark wizards. It's better to keep a low profile now. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 4. Welcome to Diagon Alley. You are listening at novelfull.audio. August 30th. Charlotte, who was having lunch, was called to the office of the director of the welfare home. Before he could reach the office door of Ms. Rebecca, the dean, he saw Mad-Eye Moody leaning against the corner. Upon seeing him, Charlotte immediately understood his purpose. Every Muggle-born wizard will have a teacher leading them to Diagon Alley to purchase corresponding items before heading to the Wizarding Academy. However, I didn't expect that it wasn't Hogwarts' teacher who came, but rather Mad-Eyed Moody, the Auror, and he came so late, with only the last day left until the start of school. Charlotte was still thinking that if no one came over again, he would find a way to go to the Broken Cauldron Bar on his own. After seeing Charlotte, Mad-Eye Moody took a few steps forward and said, "Sorry, Mr. Elvis, I should have come to see you earlier, but recently those Death Eaters have become active again, and I must capture them all in Azkaban." "It's okay, Mr. Moody," Charlotte smiled and said, "You can call me Charlotte." Mad-Eyed Moody grinned and said, "Okay Charlotte, now I'll take you to the first stop of every novice wizard, the Broken Cauldron Bar." The two of them took a taxi and arrived in front of a bookstore and record store on the street in London. Mad-Eye Moody took out his wand and lightly tapped it, and Charlotte saw the door of the Broken Cauldron Bar. As soon as she entered the door, Charlotte heard the noisy noise. But in just 1 second, everyone in the bar closed their mouths and looked at Mad-Eyes Moody and Charlotte in disbelief, with many of their faces showing signs of fear. "It's Mad-Eye Moody, why did he come here? Is there a Death Eater appearing in Diagon Alley, and who is the boy following him? Isn't it a dark wizard? Shoo, stop talking, be careful that this lunatic will take you into Azkaban as a black wizard." Charlotte could see that everyone was very afraid of Mad-Eye Moody. Firstly, his remarkable achievements were due to him capturing half of Azkaban's black wizards. Secondly, his prolonged battle with the black wizards made his spirit somewhat strange and insane. People were afraid of angering him, so don't take him to jail. After all, Azkaban is the most terrifying prison in the world, and no one wants to go in. Mad-Eye Moody ignored everyone's gaze and instead led Charlotte to a trash can behind the broken cauldron bar. He said to Charlotte, "Welcome to Diagon Alley, Charlotte." After speaking, he took out his wand and pointed it at the third wall brick that was pointing upwards towards the trash can. He lightly tapped the two horizontal wall bricks 3 times with his wand, and then the wall automatically formed an arch. Seeing this magical scene, Charlotte's eyes lit up instantly. Mad-Eye Moody walked in first, just like before. Many wizards instinctively dodged towards him, and the crowded street suddenly became empty. As he walked, he said to Charlotte, "Do you remember that there are many things you need to buy for enrollment?" Charlotte said, "I remember, but do I need to exchange some currency circulating between wizards now?" "You don't have to worry about this. The last time we caught your black wizard, we found 300 gold gerons on him. These coins should be considered as compensation for you," said Mad-Eye Moody as he threw a small money bag to Charlotte. "Thank you," Charlotte said. Mad-Eye Moody nodded lightly, then took him into the Patchy Pot shop, followed by Madame Morkin Robe shop, Lichen bookstore, and Ira Owl shop. Although Charlotte also likes cats, owls are more convenient for delivering messages. He chose a long-eared owl as his pet here. The ear feathers of the long-eared owl are long, located on both sides of the head, and it looks like 2 erect ears, looking very silly and cute. Charlotte named it Anya. Finally, the two of them arrived at the entrance of the Ollivander wand shop, and Mad-Eye Moody said, "To become an excellent wizard, you must have an excellent wand. This is the best wand shop in Diagon Alley, and Mr. Ollivander will definitely choose the wand that best suits you." Entering the wand shop, an old man with gray hair immediately greeted him. He didn't seem afraid of Mad-Eye Moody and said enthusiastically, "Mr. Moody, long time no see." "Long time no see, Mr. Ollivander. Could you please help Mr. Charlotte Elvis choose a wand that suits him?" Mad-Eye Moody said, "He is the new student of Hogwarts." Ollivander nodded and said, "No problem, let me measure Mr. Sylvester's physical data first, and then let me have a wand that best suits him." As soon as the words fell, a row of cabinets behind Ollivander shook violently. With a whoosh, the wooden box at the bottom of the cabinet flew out and landed at Charlotte's feet. Seeing this box, Ollivander's eyes showed a hint of surprise. He picked up the wooden box and took out a wand from it, murmuring, "The wand is 11 3/4 inches long, with a body made of acacia wood and a core made of Thunderbird feathers. It is a cunning yet very powerful wand. 300 years ago, after my ancestors made it, they never found a suitable owner. Unexpectedly, today he finally met his own recognized wizard." Ollivander gently handed the wand to Charlotte's hand and then said, "Try waving it." As soon as Charlotte took it over, she sensed a very joyful emotion from the wand, which seemed to have become a part of his body and was very comfortable to hold in her hand. He gently waved his wand and a small lightning bolt shot out, shattering a ceramic vase directly opposite him. This scene scared Charlotte half to death. He only used a very small amount of magic, but unexpectedly triggered lightning directly. This was in front of Mad-Eye Moody. If he saw something, it wouldn't be good. But at this moment, Ollivander widened his eyes. "Merlin, you can perfectly unleash the extraordinary power of Thunderbird feathers. This wand seems to be specially designed for you. Mr. Elvis, you will definitely become a great wizard in the future. Thank you for your praise." Charlotte said humbly, "I am also very grateful that you helped me find the right wand." Ollivander smiled and said, "This is my honor. After Mr. Elvis goes to Hogwarts, he can have more exposure to the metamorphosis curse. Only wizards with my metamorphosis talent can gain recognition from the Thunderbird wand core wand." Upon hearing this, Charlotte was momentarily stunned. At that moment, he almost thought that his identity as Animagus had been exposed. However, he quickly returned to normal. After thanking Ollivander again, he and Mad-Eye Moody walked out of the wand shop. Charlotte was very keen to feel that since he used his wand to trigger lightning, Mad-Eye Moody's expression had changed slightly. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 5. Boarding the train, target Hogwarts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 2 black wizards were killed by lightning strikes. At this moment, Charlotte has shown excellent talent in lightning magic, and as the strongest auror, Mad-Eye Moody immediately linked the two together. He never believed that there would be such a coincidence in the world. Just as Mad-Eye Moody's gaze became increasingly serious, Charlotte suddenly stopped and looked up, saying, "Mr. Moody, I think it's necessary to tell you something." "What's going on?" "Just as I received this wand, some images suddenly flashed through my mind, seemingly related to the Dark Wizards Maggie Brooke and White Claire over 2 months ago." Charlotte said, "I seem to have seen a big golden bird with 6 wings and a man wearing a black suit and a gentleman's hat." "What does that man look like?" Moody quickly asked. Charlotte shook her head gently and said, "I can't see clearly, his face seems to have a layer of fog on it, making it difficult to see clearly." Mad-Eye Moody's brow furrowed slightly, and the left magic eye spun wildly. Gold, with 6 wings, it should be undoubtedly a Thunderbird, so Charlotte only recalled the related memories after receiving the wand made of Thunderbird feathers. That is to say, it is very likely that the one who killed Maggie Brooke and White Claire was a Thunderbird. In this way, we can align with the previous information. According to information obtained by the Ministry of Magic, Maggie and White hunted and killed a young Thunderbird 10 months ago in order to conduct a black magic experiment. Most likely, these 2 died in revenge for an adult Thunderbird. As for the identity of the man in black, there is currently no clue. After figuring out this joint, the solemn expression in Mad-Eye Moody's eyes immediately dissipated a lot. He looked at Charlotte holding big and small bags and let out a soft breath. It seems that he is too nervous. Charlotte is just an 11-year-old child who has not even learned a complete spell. How could he be the one who killed 2 black wizards? "Have you bought everything, Charlotte?" "It's all there, Mr. Moody." "Great, you can go to King's Cross Station by yourself before 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. The 3rd pillar between the 9th and 10th stations is the 9 and 3/4 station leading to Hogwarts." Mad-Eye Moody handed Charlotte a ticket and then said, "Finally, one more warning to you, don't stick the wand in your pants pocket. If it suddenly catches fire, it will directly burn your butt." After speaking, he suddenly shrank into a little bit and disappeared. "Transform and transform." Charlotte looked enviously at the direction where Mad-Eye Moody had disappeared, and breathed a sigh of relief in her heart. It seemed like she was getting by. She was really afraid that Mad-Eye Moody would take him directly back to the Ministry of Magic, and then use telepathy or use spitting agents to deal with herself. His brain sealing technique is only level 2, and the last time he was able to conceal the past, most of it was because he was a child and a victim, which to some extent alleviated Mad-Eye Moody's vigilance. "Although I am not a dark wizard, who knows the consequences of revealing my secrets?" Without Mad-Eye Moody's concern, Charlotte also relaxed a lot. He looked around and walked towards Gringotts. He bought his favorite vanilla chocolate ice cream from the Florin cold drink shop diagonally opposite Gringotts before pushing and holding his school supplies and leaving Diagon Alley. The next morning, Charlotte arrived early at King's Square Station in London. He easily found the ammonium pillar and then entered the platform. An old-fashioned steam train quietly stopped on the tracks, surrounded by students preparing to attend Hogwarts. Xia Ming stepped onto the train with a curious expression on his face, looking around curiously at the decorations on the train. Everything here made him feel fresh and curious. Raffles. "Wait for me, Raffles." At this moment, a hurried call came, and Charlotte instinctively turned her head to see a chubby little man with a round face running in her direction, and a round golden-backed toad jumping rapidly on the floor of the carriage. Seeing the person coming, the toad named Lefeu, a person's name popped up in Charlotte's mind. Neville Longbottom. Seeing the golden-backed toad jump to her feet, Charlotte bent down and grabbed it in her hand, handing it out. Thank you very much for your help. Neville Longbottom took the toad and after seeing Charlotte's salute, he said, Are you also a freshman at Hogwarts? My name is Neville Longbottom. Charlotte Elvis, nice to meet you. Neville Longbottom, somewhat foolishly, took out a box of candy and said. Zizi honey candy, my favorite, I hope you can also like it. I'm in the back carriage, and I'll chat with you when I put Raffles back. Charlotte took the candy and was about to tell him his carriage number, but Longbottom had already run away with his toad in his arms. This guy was indeed a confused bug, just like in the original work. With the seat number on the ticket, Charlotte found his seat, put down his salute, and then took out a book called Standard Spell Beginner to read. Charlotte is very eager to learn magic now, not only to improve his strength, but also because he is extremely interested in magic. This beginner's standard spell book contains many practical small spells. Although it may be difficult to use against enemies, it can play a significant role in daily life, such as repairing items with a repair spell, unlocking a lock with a lock, as well as floating spells, lighting spells, and so on. Even without the guidance of a teacher, Charlotte could still try these little spells herself. After silently reciting the spell of the illumination curse in her heart, Charlotte took out her wand and gently said. Fluorescent flashing. The next moment, Charlotte felt the magic within her body converging along her arm towards the wand, and a white fluorescence lit up at the top of the wand. Success. Charlotte's heart was filled with joy. He didn't expect to succeed in casting his magic for the first time. He glanced at his attributes and noticed that they had quietly changed. Name. Charlotte Elvis. Age. 11. Race. Human. Occupation. Wizard, Animagus, talent. Thunderstorm power. 8. Intelligence. 9. Magic. 8. Curse. Brain sealing, level 2, killing curse, level 0, illumination curse, level O, skill point. 0. As long as the spell has been successfully cast once, it means that you have learned it, and you can use skill points to level up without having to practice casting techniques hard anymore. After 2 months of research, Charlotte also gained a good understanding of the system. The success of casting spells in one go is closely related to one's own talent. Generally speaking, a normal adult wizard has around 8 in strength, intelligence, and magic. Charlotte, who blended the bloodline of Thunderbird, had already reached this standard without transforming. If it weren't for his lack of magical knowledge, Charlotte, who was only 11 years old, could have applied for graduation, so now Charlotte is a true genius wizard. He tried several more small spells and successfully cast them all in one go. Are you casting spells? At this moment, a pleasant voice rang in Charlotte's ear. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 6. Branch Ceremony, Entering Ravenclaw. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charlotte looked up and a girl with disheveled brown hair stood outside the carriage, staring at her curiously with a pair of beautiful big eyes. Just practicing some basic spells. The girl walked up to Charlotte and reached out her hand, saying. Hermione Granger, a freshman from Manchester. Charlotte Elvis, from London. Charlotte smiled and pointed to the candy on the table. Zizi honey candy, does Miss Granger need to try one? Hermione sat down without any hesitation, skillfully opened the package, took out a bee-shaped candy, and put it in her mouth. Her face also showed a hint of satisfaction. My father is a dentist, and I can only eat candy on birthdays and Christmas, but now I am finally free. I think your father is right. Eating less candy can ensure you have a healthy set of teeth, Charlotte said. Hermione spread out her hands and looked indifferent. For ordinary people, I am a wizard. In the future, I can become a wizard as powerful as Merlin. I can invent a potion that can keep my teeth from falling off forever. Do you know that I have read all the first-grade textbooks and mastered 4 simple spells? Professor McGonagall said I am a genius. After speaking, Hermione was still afraid that Charlotte wouldn't believe her, so she took out her wand and showed her spell. As described in the book, Hermione in first grade really enjoyed showing off her knowledge to others, like a peacock with an open screen, to the extent that Ron always felt very proud and complacent. Hermione's appearance made the carriage quite lively. After the sky darkened, the Hogwarts Express arrived at its destination. A tall and burly bearded man arrived at a lake with Charlotte and others. Across from the lake was a magnificent castle. Although Charlotte had imagined it countless times in her heart before coming, after seeing it with her own eyes, she was still amazed by the magic and grandeur of Hogwarts College. It's simply unbelievable. Upon hearing Charlotte's admiration, Hagrid let out a burst of laughter. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the best wizarding school in the world, Hogwarts. I hope you can have a pleasant 7 years here. Now, every 4 people board the ship. Charlotte and Hermione boarded a small boat. At this moment, 2 people appeared on the side of the small boat and asked, "Can we come up? The rest of the ships are already manned." "Of course," Hermione said enthusiastically. Charlotte looked at the 2, but there was a hint of surprise in her eyes. Her red hair was red, and there was no one else except the Weasley family. She had black framed glasses and lightning scars on her forehead. The identities of the 2 are about to be revealed. The 3 of them were supposed to meet on the train, but because Charlotte first found the toad in Longbottom, Hermione didn't go out to help find it, so they didn't meet on the train. I didn't expect the Iron Triangle to meet in this way. After the small boat docked, Hagrid led the crowd into the gate of Hogwarts. A female wizard wearing a pointed wizard hat and square glasses stood on the steps to watch the crowd. Hagrid said to the witch, "Professor McGonagall, I have already brought all the new students this year." "Thank you very much, Hagrid." Professor McGonagall nodded at Hagrid and said expressionlessly to everyone, "Come with me. The opening banquet at Hogwarts is about to begin, and the first thing you need to do when enrolling is to let the sorting hat determine that you are about to enter the school, Gryffindor, Hufflepuff, Ravenclaw, or Slytherin." Professor McGonagall introduced the college to Charlotte and others as he walked. "Charlotte, which college do you most want to enter?" Hermione asked softly. "I want to go to Gryffindor, let's go together." Charlotte smiled and said, "It's not our own the final say." During the conversation, McGonagall had already led them into a hall, with Charlotte and Hermione walking at the forefront. The combination of handsome men and beautiful women immediately caught the attention of many people. At this moment, Charlotte was attracted by the floating candles, pumpkin lanterns, and magical ceiling in the hall. "This is magic." The freshmen lined up in the hallway, looking nervously at Professor McGonagall's tattered black wizard hat. Professor McGonagall held a piece of parchment and said, "Students who recite their names, please come forward and put on their branch hats, and then determine the college you will be going to." Hermione Granger. Upon hearing her name, Hermione immediately became nervous, and Charlotte comforted her softly. "Go ahead, it's okay. You will definitely enter the college you want to go to." Hermione nodded before walking up and sat on the chair with a nervous expression. Gryffindor. The sorting hat let out a scream, while the students at Gryffindor College erupted in enthusiastic cheers. Hermione happily waved at Charlotte and sat down at Gryffindor's long table. The second one is Draco Malfoy, who was unexpectedly assigned to Slytherin. And Harry Potter and Ron Weasley remained unchanged and were assigned to Gryffindor. Charlotte Elvis. Finally reciting Charlotte's name, he quickly stepped forward and put on his branch hat. The 4 colleges are the same for Charlotte. What he wants is to learn magic knowledge. No matter where he is, he can only become stronger. "Oh, you are really an excellent new student. You have already possessed a very powerful magic at a young age, and you also have amazing wisdom. All 4 colleges are suitable for you, young man. Do you have any students you want to go to?" Hearing the words of the Sorting Hat, everyone present was shocked. It has always been up to the branch hats to make their own decisions, how come it's Charlotte's turn to start asking the students about their wishes? Professor McGonagall's eyes also showed a hint of surprise. She had been presiding over the ceremony for decades, but she had never seen such a situation before. At this moment, Charlotte said, "As long as I can learn magic, I can go anywhere." "I can feel that this is an idea from your heart," said the Sorting Hat. "I already know which college you will be assigned to. Ravenclaw. Ravenclaw is the most suitable college for you." After hearing the loud roar of the branch hat, Ravenclaw's students applauded warmly. Among the 4 Hogwarts colleges, Ravenclaw has the least number of students, as entering Eagle Academy requires extraordinary intelligence. Only 3 of this year's freshmen were assigned to Ravenclaw. Charlotte's addition undoubtedly added a fresh touch of blood to Ravenclaw. And only Hermione looked at Charlotte with an unhappy expression on her face. The branch hat has already asked him, as long as he speaks, he can come to Gryffindor. This person is so annoying. Feilu's novel, Fei Wants You to Look Good. Chapter 7. Magic Transformation Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Charlotte walked over with a smile and sat down at the long table belonging to Ravenclaw. Although Ravenclaw's role in the original work is limited, the students in this academy are definitely not weak, as can be seen from Luna Lovegood. This girl who doesn't show any signs or leaks always shines brightly in critical moments. At this moment, Charlotte felt a gaze fixed on him. He turned his head and happened to bump into Albus Dumbledore's deep pool-like eyes. He was instantly startled and then lowered his head in respect. Dumbledore also smiled slightly and nodded at Charlotte. He is indeed an interesting little guy with such a keen sense of spirit, which is not commonly seen among adult wizards. No wonder Mad-Eye Moody said his talent is rare in 100 years. It seems that this little guy not only has the talent to become Animagus, but also has the talent to become a prophet and diviner. The Sorting Hat's judgment is good, he is indeed a born Ravenclaw. The freshman branch ceremony ended, and Dumbledore stood up and said, "All right, the banquet is now starting." As soon as the words fell, a dazzling array of food appeared on the plates of the long table, including roasted chicken, fruits, cakes, and so on, leaving Charlotte dazzled. Charlotte didn't eat much all day today, and he didn't feel hungry because he was in an excited state. Now that he suddenly saw so many tempting foods, he couldn't help but start eating big. The crowd next to me burst into laughter as I watched this scene. After dinner, the heads of each college led their people back to their public lounge. The public lounge in Ravenclaw is located at the westernmost part of the castle, at the top of the entrance tower, with an old wooden board serving as the entrance to the public lounge. Prefect Penelope Cravat stood at the door, pointing to the bronze door ring on the wooden board, and said to Charlotte and the new students, "The way Ravenclaw enters the public rest area is completely different from the other 3 colleges. We don't need to set up a hidden entrance to the public rest room like the other colleges do. Behind this door is our Ravenclaw rest room. When you knock on this door, the bronze crow ring on the door will ask you a question. If you can answer correctly, congratulations, you have been allowed to enter. In Ravenclaw, it is very common for 10 or 20 people to be stopped at the entrance of the lounge. This is also a good opportunity for you to meet students of other ages. For newly arrived students, I have only one suggestion. Before leaving, please make sure to check your backpack and not leave any urgent items. In the 1,000 years since Ravenclaw's establishment, no one except Ravenclaw was able to pass through this simple barrier." After speaking, Pinero reached out and knocked on the wooden door, only hearing the crow-shaped bronze dooring say, "Which one does Fire and Phoenix have first?" Pinero Crivet turned to look at the group of freshmen and asked, "Does anyone know?" "This is a cycle without a starting point," Charlotte said. The moment the words fell, the door opened. Prefect Pinero Crivet and some old students looked at Charlotte with some surprise. To be honest, this question belongs to the quite difficult category, and some old students may not be able to answer it. Unexpectedly, it was pointed out by Charlotte. Very good. Pinero led everyone into the lounge. All right, welcome everyone to Ravenclaw again. Congratulations on becoming the smartest, most agile, and most interesting member of Hogwarts Academy. After a brief introduction, Charlotte arrived at her dormitory. Ravenclaw advocates freedom, wind, and blue sky, and the dormitory is also located on the top floor of the tower. Through the window, Charlotte can see Black Lake, Forbidden Forest, and Quidditch Stadium. The scenery here can be said to be unique. Charlotte, you were really amazing just now. Even many old people looked at you differently. The boy speaking is named Chad Anthony, from Ireland. He has chestnut slightly curled short hair, rare green eyes, and a very lively personality. He has been chattering non-stop by Charlotte's side since dinner. Charlotte sighed and said, "Charles, if you don't want to be late and locked up by the teacher tomorrow, I suggest you go to bed immediately." Upon hearing the confinement, Charles immediately shut his mouth. Charlotte was very tired today, but after lying down, she couldn't sleep anymore. The excitement of entering Hogwarts never subsided. Not to mention anything else, there are several magical creatures that Charlotte covets here, such as Dumbledore's pet phoenix fox, the strange snake in the Chamber of Secrets, and the unicorn, among others. These magical creatures all possess extremely powerful extraordinary powers. Especially the rebirth of the phoenix's nirvana. If one could possess such power, wouldn't they be able to live forever? The strange snake is also very powerful. Whoever glares with one pair of eyes will die. It's just that I don't have the strength to defeat the monster snake yet. If it weren't for Phoenix Fox blinding the monster snake's eyes in the original work, Harry Potter would have been cool long ago. The next day, Charlotte arrived early in the classroom. The first class to enter Hogwarts was Professor McGonagall's transformation class, which was a magic that Charlotte was eager to learn. In Charlotte's view, metamorphosis is definitely the most malleable magic in the wizarding world. There is no one, and as long as you use it properly, you can even transform into a Gundam. Just as she sat down, Hermione came to Charlotte's side and asked in a questioning tone. "Why didn't you come to Gryffindor instead of Ravenclaw?" Charlotte said. "It's not my choice, it's the choice of the branch hat." "But you clearly..." Looking at Hermione's angry expression, Charlotte smiled and said. "Whether it's Ravenclaw or Gryffindor, aren't they both at Hogwarts? We meet every day, and what's the difference in which college?" Hermione couldn't find a rebuttal for a moment, and after staring at Charlotte, she turned around and returned to her seat. And this class also began with Harry Potter and Ron being late. After reprimanding the two, Professor McGonagall said with a serious expression. "Why did Hogwarts separate the subject of metamorphosis?" "That's because metamorphosis is one of the most dangerous, complex, and difficult spells you will learn in the future. I will put the ugly words first. If someone causes trouble in my classroom, I will turn them into a ball and kick them out. The person who rolls out will never be able to enter my classroom again." As the words fell, Professor McGonagall pointed his wand towards the desk. The wooden table turned into a chubby white pig. This scene immediately suppressed all the students in the class, and everyone began to be eager to try. "Oh my goodness, this is just amazing. I want to learn this, and once I succeed, I can turn stones into gold. Professor McGonagall is so amazing." Upon hearing the exclamation of the students, Professor McGonagall's face showed a hint of satisfaction. She gently waved her wand in her hand, and the classroom suddenly fell silent. She said, "Now, let me explain the basic principles of shape-shifting to everyone. Please make sure to take good notes. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward. Chapter 8. Women, I advise you not to meddle in your affairs. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After an hour, everyone's enthusiasm for shape-shifting immediately dropped to freezing point. Metamorphosis is indeed very cool, but to train it to the level of McGonagall, turning a lectern into a little pig, it requires the effort of grinding water. After taking a lot of complex notes, Professor McGonagall lightly tapped his wand towards the desk, and immediately matches fell in front of everyone. Based on the key points of the transformation technique I just talked about, now everyone can try to turn this match into a needle. Finally, no longer having to listen to tedious theoretical knowledge, everyone took out their wands and began to try. Charlotte was not surprised either, but he did not immediately attempt it. Instead, he previewed all the key points of the transformation technique taught by Professor McGonagall before taking out his wand and lightly lighting the match. In the next moment, the wooden match immediately turned into a silver sewing needle. "Oh my goodness! How did you do it?" Charles, who was sitting next to him, let out a scream of surprise when he saw this scene. He had tried 2 or 3 times and not only failed, but also lit the match. The crowd who heard the commotion quickly turned their heads and saw the needle on Charlotte's table, with surprised expressions on their faces. Only Draco Malfoy's face showed disdain. "What if you succeed once, isn't it just a lowly mud seed?" Professor McGonagall walked quickly from the back of the classroom to Charlotte's face. She just raised her eyebrows, waved her wand lightly, and brought in a match to put in front of Charlotte. "Great, Elvis, then please make another change for everyone to see." "Okay, Professor McGonagall." After speaking, Charlotte's wand lightly lit, and the match instantly turned into a steel needle. McGonagall nodded with great satisfaction and raised the steel needle for the whole class to watch one by one, then loudly said, "Mr. Charlotte Elvis's shape-shifting skills are excellent, and Ravenclaw Academy is even more impressive." "Thank you, Professor McGonagall," Charlotte said. Ding! The speed at which the host learns shape-shifting has broken Hogwarts' fastest record in 100 years, with a reward of 2 skill points. Upon hearing the system prompt, Charlotte was slightly stunned. It turned out that this way, he could still obtain skill points, and there were only 2. Previously, he had fought desperately to kill a black wizard before rewarding 1 skill point. After a moment of joy, Charlotte thought again. Who is the fastest record in 1,000 years to complete the transformation spell in such a fast time, even though it only broke the record in 100 years? Ding! The host's speed of learning shape-shifting ranks 3rd in Hogwarts Millennium history, with Godric Gryffindor and Albus Dumbledore in the top 2. The host broke Tom Maward Riddle's record. It turns out that the first 2 are these 2 divine beings, but being able to break Voldemort's record is considered impressive. However, this also provides Charlotte with a new way of acquiring skill points. After Charlotte completed the shape-shifting technique, everyone in the classroom worked hard, especially Draco Malfoy, not for anything else, just to get Slytherin credit. The College Cup is a very sacred and honorable event for Hogwarts students. Compared to the Eagle Academy and Badger Academy, which are more Buddhist, at the end of each year, Snake Academy and Lion Academy will compete for the Academy Cup. However, until the end of this class, no one was able to fully perform the transformation technique, and Hermione, who did the best, only made the match thinner and the color slightly closer to silver-white. However, Professor McGonagall still gave Gryffindor an encouragement score. Next is Professor Snape's potion class. As soon as she entered the classroom and sat down, Hermione came to Charlotte's side. Charles, who was a step late, stared at Hermione and said, "This is my seat, Gryffindor should be sitting over there." Hermione looked up and said, "Hogwarts has no rules stating that this desk belongs to Ravenclaw, and I think Charlotte should really enjoy sitting with a smart and beautiful lady like me." Charleston was speechless, and he looked at Charlotte with a pleading gaze, while Charlotte reluctantly spread out her hand to him. Bang! At this moment, the door of the classroom was rudely pushed open from the outside door. Charlotte instinctively looked back and saw a middle-aged man wearing a black robe walking in like a gust of wind. Due to the speed, his black hem was half floating behind him, like a vampire. Snape stood in front of the podium and looked around the students present. Finally, his gaze fell on Charles, who was still standing in the hallway. Snape frowned lightly and said, "Mr. Charles Anthony, do you have any objections to my potion class?" Charles was startled by Snape's cold gaze and quickly found a seat to sit down. "No, Professor Snape." On the first night of entering Ravenclaw, Charles, who enjoyed chatting around, learned from a Gryffindor student that Professor Snape of Potions was a terrifying dark wizard. Try not to provoke him, otherwise he will definitely die unsightly. Snape began to call the roll, and as he recited the name of Harry Potter, he whispered, "Harry Potter, as a new celebrity at Hogwarts, your name has been remembered by the entire wizarding world since birth." His tone of voice was extremely eerie, very low, like whispering, but strangely, everyone in the classroom could hear it clearly. And for everyone to be able to hear the unkindness in his tone. Then he tightened his black robe and said in a deep voice, "Firstly, I don't want to see anyone waving their wands recklessly in my classroom. Secondly, I can teach you how to fill reputation, brew glory, and even die, but I don't expect you all to understand the intricacies of potions. I just hope you don't be as foolish as the fools I've taught you before." After listening to these words, everyone sat straight, as if trying to prove that they were not stupid people. Especially Hermione, she looked at Snape with all her attention, as if she could stand up and answer Snape's questions in the next second. "Potter." Snape suddenly called out Harry Potter and said, "What are the consequences of adding the powder of narcissus bulbs to the juice of absinthe?" Harry Potter, who was suddenly called out, looked at Snape with a bewildered expression on his face. He didn't even hear the names of these two potions clearly. He secretly glanced at Ron, who was also a confused cub, and lowered his head, saying, "Sorry Professor, I don't know. If you need a piece of bezoar, where will you go to find it?" "I know, Professor. What is the difference between boat-shaped aconitum and wolf venom aconitum?" "I don't know." Snape's questions became increasingly urgent, while Harry Potter's voice became quieter because he knew nothing about them. Only Hermione kept raising her hand, and she was about to raise her hand to the ceiling. Charlotte let out a soft sigh and quietly pressed her down. In Hermione's puzzled gaze, Charlotte shook her head. "Woman, I advise you not to meddle in your affairs. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward." Chapter 9. Refining Magic Potions. Malfoy in Detention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Snape can be said to be the most tragic character in the original work. Although he was a good person, he was always misunderstood as a ruthless Death Eater, and the truth was not revealed until he died in the end. Everyone finally understood that he had been secretly protecting Harry Potter and Hogwarts. His provocative questioning of Harry Potter here is actually a subtle way to tell Harry Potter that I will always love your mother, even if your father harbors great malice towards me, I will always protect you. However, at this moment, Snape is hindered by his identity and cannot speak out about it. And Harry Potter, due to some preconceived biases and age issues, cannot understand Snape's hard work. At this moment, Snape grinned and said, "It seems that you are just a figurehead. Do you never preview the knowledge in your textbooks before class?" Harry Potter bit his lip and said, "Sorry, Professor Snape, but I think Hermione should know the question you're asking." "Why didn't you ask her?" At this moment, Hermione could no longer resist and stood up, shouting loudly. The powder of narcissus bulbs added to the juice of absinthe can be used to make a powerful sleeping pill called Death's Web. Ox yellow is the nemesis of many poisons in the cow's stomach, while the boat-shaped aconitum and the wolf venom aconitum are the same plant, commonly known as aconite. Hermione, who heard it, answered all 3 questions, but Snape's face showed no signs of happiness. He said expressionlessly, "Harry Potter, rudely contradicting the teacher, deduct 1 point, Hermione Granger, deduct 5 points. Why, was my answer wrong?" Hermione asked very unconvinced. Your answer is very good, Ms. Granger, Snape said, but I didn't allow you to stand up and answer the question. You're randomly disrupting the classroom order. Upon hearing this, Hermione sat down in a fit of anger, while Malfoy, who was sitting in the back, showed a hint of watching the show. Snape returned to the podium and began his lecture, while Gryffindor students were called up to answer some very tricky questions in class. They had long heard that Snape would favor Slytherin students, but they didn't expect it to be true. Next, I will teach you how to prepare a magic potion for treating burns, which requires very simple materials such as dried nettles, crushed snake teeth, and the prickles of a porcupine. Now, in pairs, we will start making the potion, and the first group to complete it will earn 10 credits. The production of magic potions requires great care, and any mistake in one step can result in very negative effects. Light materials can be wasted, while heavy ones may cost wizards their lives. Despite everyone taking good notes, there were still people making mistakes, and Snape's angry scolding kept ringing in the classroom. Now, except for Charlotte and Hermione, Malfoy and Gore, who were not scolded, everyone else has been scolded to the point of bloodshed. Charlotte is like a precise machine, completing every step perfectly. And Malfoy seemed particularly favored by Snape, not only personally guiding him on how to weigh medicinal herbs, but also reminding him when he was about to make a mistake. Malfoy looked at Charlotte with a proud expression on his face. A lowly mud seed, I see how you can beat me this time. Ah! Just then, a scream suddenly came from the classroom. It turned out to be the refining failure of Neville Longbottom and Seymour. The medicine in the crucible was spilled directly on the ground, and many people's shoes were corroded with small holes by the acidic green medicine. That person is even more miserable, with acidic potions all over his body. Snape quickly approached, waved his wand, and the discarded crucible and potion disappeared completely. Then he shouted loudly at Neville. Fool, didn't you just take the crucible off the fire and put the prickles of a porcupine in it? Is your head made of elm wood? I've reminded you many times. Gryffindor takes 5 points off. Watching Neville cry and be taken to the medical room. Malfoy mocked Harry Potter and said, Stupid Gryffindor, you can't even refine such a simple potion. You better not come here for classes in the future. I'm done. At that moment, Charlotte's voice rang out in the classroom. Everyone looked up in shock and saw Charlotte holding a transparent glass bottle, which contained 3/4 of a bottle of green solution. Snape walked a few steps to Charlotte, grabbed the glass bottle, opened the bottle cap, and gently sniffed it. He then picked up Charlotte's crucible and reached his finger in to pick up some residual medicine. Very good, Charlotte Elvis was the first to complete the refining of the burn potion. Ravenclaw is very good. Ding! Congratulations to the host for refining the perfect burn potion, reward skill points *1. The system's prompt sound stunned Charlotte, who didn't break the record. However, thinking about it, Charlotte understood that she had no foundation in potions before this. Being able to refine it all depends on talent. And many children who originally came from wizarding families will be exposed to this content early on, so of course, they will be faster. After hearing these words, Malfoy's face showed a hint of disbelief. How could it be? 1/3 of his magic potion refining steps have not been completed yet. How could he have completed them so quickly? I have Professor Snape's personal guidance. Cheating, he must have cheated. Just as he was about to say this idea out loud, he saw Snape looking at him with a very cold gaze. Malfoy instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and under Snape's guidance, he lost to Charlotte, a mud seed. With Snape's personality, shouldn't he be imprisoned? At this thought, his hand trembled and all the porcupine thorns in his hand fell into the crucible. Damn it! Malfoy was startled in his heart. Before he could react, the crucible exploded with a loud bang, emitting a cloud of black smoke. His fair face and golden hair were all turned black by the explosion. The comical scene immediately caused everyone to burst into laughter. Quiet! Snape let out a furious shout and looked at Malfoy, who was about to cry without tears, saying, "Dracula Malfoy is being detained. Come to my office for confinement after class." After speaking, Snape wrapped his black robe tightly and left the classroom in the wind. Malfoy wiped the black ash off his face and walked up to Charlotte, speaking fiercely. "Wait, you lowly mud seed, I will definitely make you look good." Upon hearing the word, mud seed, most of the students present showed displeasure on their faces, except for Charlotte who didn't care at all. He said, "You can't even compare to a mud seed. What qualifications do you have to show off your strength here? It's better to go and lock yourself up quickly, noble young Master Malfoy." "You. Wait, I'll fight you." Malfoy was extremely angry. If it weren't for his face being covered in black and gray at the moment, Charlotte estimated that his face would have turned red to the neck. "We'll have to wait until you close it tightly. 3 things to do when reading. Read, collect, and reward."